We've been talking about hell and purgatory, states of being that transcend the world of ordinary experience. But is this kind of speech even coherent? Why should we imagine that there is anything beyond what we can see, touch, and measure?
There's a line in the Creed to which we rarely aver. The Creed speaks of God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, of all that is seen and unseen. The Bible is intensely interested in the full panoply of visible things. Human beings, plants, animals, trees, the earth itself, even those things that crawl upon the earth. But the Bible is also interested in that whole realm of God's invisible creation, those beings at a higher pitch of existence. I'm talking about the angels. Now I know in this day and age, to talk about believing in the angels seems at best charming, at worst naive and superstitious. But think of it this way. Given what we know about the enormous variety of God's physical creation, is it likely that between this physical world and God, there simply yawns this great abyss? Both Thomas Aquinas in the Middle Ages and Teilhard de Chardin in modern times said, no, more likely that space is filled with an equally great variety of spiritual creatures. Here's how Thomas Aquinas talked about the angels. He said, they are separated intelligences. Here's what he means. They are spiritual beings endowed with mind and will, but they're not tied to matter the way that we are. The angel knows and wills, but at a much higher pitch of intensity, not tied to matter. And that means, Thomas said, that every angel is his own species. I know that's kind of a strange idea, but it's interesting when you think about it. What makes me an individual of the species humanity is this particular body that I have, these flesh and bones. An angel, though, is not tied to matter. Therefore, each angel is his own species or type. Look, here's what it means. Imagine every human being who's ever existed, every human being currently existing, every human being who will ever live till the end of time. Now imagine all of them gathered together as one great archetypal human. That would give you an idea of what one angel is like. It also helps to explain why in the Bible the typical reaction to an angel is fear. In our tradition, the angels are associated with the praise of God. We imagine them around the throne of God offering praise to the Lord. In fact, the highest angels, the seraphim, derive their name from a Hebrew word that means the burnt ones. They're on fire. They're so close to the presence of God. We also speak in this context of the singing of the angels. Now, don't over-literalize that language. What it means is the harmony of mind and will among the angels as together they praise God. This is also why, liturgically, we seek to join our voices to the voices of the angels. We say, Lord, may our praise be one with theirs as we sing, holy, holy, holy. What we're praying is that we might find the same communion of mind and heart that they find in heaven. The word angel is from the Greek word angelos. It just means messenger. That's why St. Augustine said angels are named not from their nature, but from their mission. Angels are sent. We hear of Gabriel sent to the Virgin Mary to announce the incarnation. I've already spoken about that stratios, that whole army of angels that announced the good news of Christmas. Angels, though they are purely spiritual beings, can interface with our world. How do we understand that? Think of this. A 3-year-old child couldn't possibly move into an adult conversation. But an adult could condescend, could stoop low and enter into the thought world, into the imagination of a child. In a similar way, these beings at a higher pitch of existence could condescend to enter into our world, to interface with us. If you're still thinking, I don't know, it just seems sort of naive to believe in angels, Think of that line from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Hamlet turns to his friend and he says, Horatio, there are more things in heaven and on earth than are dreamed of in your philosophies. Maybe it's our rationalism and our materialism that's too cramped, that prevents us from appreciating this invisible world of God's creation. Now, just as there are fallen, wicked, compromised human beings, so the church believes there are fallen, wicked angels. Angels who have fallen out of the right praise of God and have turned in on themselves in pride, becoming, as it were, spiritual black holes. Imagine the most wicked person you know. Now, transpose that wickedness to a higher and more intense spiritual plane, and you have some idea of what the church means by a devil. Now, we have to be careful here. Christianity is not a Manichaean system, not a black-white war of good against evil. The devil is in no sense God's rival. The devil's a creature of God, and whatever the devil is and does is through God's permission. Nevertheless, we shouldn't underestimate the spiritual warfare. St. Paul said, we do battle not with flesh and blood, but with powers and principalities. The book of Revelation speaks of the war of the angels, which has spilled over into our dimension. I'm standing here in the Cathedral of Orvieto before what I think is one of the most chilling religious paintings in the world. Luca Signorelli did this wonderful scene of the Antichrist. You see him there in the middle. He looks for all the world like Jesus, in the face, in his vesture. But then you see that troubling expression on his face. And then you notice the devil whispering in his ear. And then this beautiful detail. See how the devil's hand comes through his vesture, so it looks for all the world like his own hand. How do devils interface with our world? Sometimes in very direct and frightening ways. Talk to anyone involved seriously in the work of exorcism. But more often than not, the devils insinuate themselves through temptation, moving us off of the praise of God and moving us into their own dark spiritual space. Again, you might be wondering, isn't this all kind of medieval to be talking about devils? Isn't evil caused by wicked human hearts, by fallen and wicked human institutions? Look, the Bible knows all about fallen individuals. It knows all about structural sin, institutional sin. But the Bible insists there's a third and more pervasive, more mysterious and more frightening level of dysfunction. It speaks of these fallen spirits. Here's the good news. Christ has done battle with all these different levels of evil. He's done battle with individual sin and conquered it. He's done battle with institutional sin and conquered it. And yes, he's done battle with this spiritual dimension and has conquered it. Therefore, we know, even in the midst of the spiritual struggle, that we are on the winning side. And therefore, we can be in the spiritual life happy warriors. I remember years ago when I lived in Paris, going through the Picasso Museum. And it's this chateau that's just filled with these Picasso works of art. Every room was a different period. You know, Picasso was so fecund in his creativity that there'd be this period, another room, that period, then the next decade, another period. God, the guy never quit. He never stopped changing. Well, that's what you see all around the physical world. Why would we imagine that God's creativity is limited to this universe that we can measure and see? Isn't it likely even that it stretches way beyond it to other dimensions? That's where the angels would come in.
Is there any way of saying how many?
No, I don't know. Thomas Aquinas says, I think there are a lot of them. And what I like about that answer is, why not? How many bugs are there? A lot of bugs. How many fish are there? Millions of fish. You walk on the ocean shore, the zillions of those little shells left behind. Well, heck, if God is that exuberant in his creativity here below, why wouldn't he be so exuberant above? So I sort of like that answer. There are a lot of them. But who knows?